All right. I am so excited to be live again inside all the places. I'm in Facebook and we're actually in LinkedIn. We're over on YouTube. We're in all the places where we can go live with Social Media Pulse and the Academy. And I am thrilled to be joined today by my friend Judi Hayes. Now, Judi and I go way back. And so this conversation will be like two old friends getting together and discussing all the things. And I remember so many wonderful things about you and LinkedIn in particular, which we're going to dive into. But first, I just want to let people know a little bit about you. Just toot your horn a little bit and ring that bell, so ever. But Judi is a Forbes contributor. She's an author of a fantastic book called Elevate, Expand, Engage, a refreshingly different approach to winning on LinkedIn. And we're going to, there you go, good job. And I want to really focus in on that refreshingly different bit in our conversation. But also, she does workshops and training. She does seminars and consulting. She also has clients, so she's got boots on the ground for those of you who are joining who are social media managers for your LinkedIn clients. And we're going to get into all of that today. So welcome, Judi. I'm so happy to have you here.
Phyllis, I feel like we're together. We roomed right before everything shut down. Remember in San Diego for Social Media Marketing World, and
Yes.
yeah, you're
Yes.
one of the OGs.
Yes, and I remember, and actually, there's a whole bunch of things we want to talk about and hit today in this thing. But I also remember, and we were just discussing that when you decided, when you were looking at all the opportunities you had in front of you many years ago, that you were going to focus in on LinkedIn. I'd like you to explain why you did that, because at that point, everybody was all about Facebook, Facebook, Facebook. So, can
Yeah.
you dive into that for just a moment?
Yeah, it was interesting because I've always worked in the B2B space aside from when I worked in the hospitality industry. And what happened was I remember starting on my own and signing up for social media manager school. And that was really pivotal because I learned about all the platforms and it came down to which one do I really embrace? Which one am I good at? And I picked LinkedIn because nobody was doing it.
Yes.
Back then it was like, well, LinkedIn, you know, it was a job search site, right? And I just said, you know what? I'm going to really learn this platform and I'm going to teach others how to use it. And by claiming that niche, it helped me separate myself from being a marketer, being a digital marketer, being a social media manager, to focusing on LinkedIn. Now, let's be clear. LinkedIn is a gateway drug. When you're working with clients, the gateway is get in on the social platform you know well. For me, it was LinkedIn. And of course, they're going to have a website. Of course, they're going to have email. Of course, they're going to have other marketing tools, but use that entry point. So yeah, that's how I got here. And I'm just
Yes.
thrilled that people have finally found LinkedIn after all these years. It's like, welcome.
Yes. Now, you've been in LinkedIn longer than most people really in a dedicated space. Like I would be over on Facebook and doing things and I'd tag you on Facebook and I'm like, she's not going to answer this because she's over on LinkedIn and I'd have to go find you over there. It's like walking down the street to a different house and knocking on the door, right? So the thing is that everybody's view of LinkedIn has changed in the last few years and you have a particular insight into that because you've seen how it is for the last few years. And a lot of people think that LinkedIn is just Facebook on a different platform. Can you talk about that and how people should actually view LinkedIn?
Yeah, and LinkedIn, I came up with an easy way to explain things. I'm really visual, so I've got to tell you this. So think about this. LinkedIn is this virtual event. Okay, that is the venue. LinkedIn is the venue, okay, virtually. And the people that you invite to this venue, that's your network. So those are your guests. Now you could know some of them, maybe you don't. There's a lot of different people coming. Okay, so they're all coming to this event. What you serve these people, your choice of appetizers and wines and all that other stuff, that is really the content that you give them. So here's where it's important. It has to be relevant because if your audience, let's say they're all vegans, and you're serving sliced beef, they're not interested in that. You lost them, right?
Yes.
So having that relevance is really important. And then the other part is the when the conversations start amongst people, that's the engagement. And that's really where the magic happens. So if you can think of LinkedIn as this sort of virtual event, Because again, there's a lot of people that I know on LinkedIn that I haven't met in real life. And so, I feel like I know you through a screen, that kind of thing. That's LinkedIn. So understanding it that way, I think helps people. Oh, that's what it is. Now, I just posted something a little while ago, and I said, Facebook is kind of like the casual barbecue. It's where the family's there, your friends, you're just throwing stuff out there. Instagram is stylish, and it's inspirational, it's visual. I would say TikTok is addictive, and it's like, people are on it and they can't leave it. It's really overstimulation. Pinterest to me is a giant billboard, again, inspirational. But LinkedIn is really, it's what you would do in a professional setting. So ask yourself this: would I say this if I went to a professional event? Would I say this in front of everybody that doesn't know who I am? Some people know me, some people don't. If the answer is no, I don't think I would say that. Then that answers what you put on LinkedIn.
That's
You
a
know,
great gate to have for posting on LinkedIn. So, a lot of times we have these sort of gate on other social platforms. Is it entertaining? Is it informative? Is it emotional? But on LinkedIn, you can have that gate to be, would I say this at a business event? Or would I
yeah.
say this in a business setting? And then that's the gate. And you pause and you think about it, and then you decide if you're going to post that or not. And I think that's really important because also inside of LinkedIn, there are all these different ways to make a post, right? It used to be like on all social platforms, you had a text or you had an image or you had a link or whatever. But now you've got LinkedIn Live, you've got articles, you've got pages, you've got creator mode thing going on. And so there's so many different ways to do that. So now you have to decide how you sit inside of LinkedIn. So you have a lot of clients that you work with on LinkedIn and have through the years. And so, how do you determine kind of like the types of posts and things inside of LinkedIn that are appropriate for your business?
It comes down to in the business to business space, you're working with other businesses. And at the end of the day, you're working with people. People hire people. So they got to like you. They got to know who you are. You got to become visible. And that's part of it, is that visibility. And then you have to build that credibility. Right. And the credibility is how you engage on the platform. So commenting is a great way for people to dip their toes into LinkedIn. So if you
Yes.
see identify a couple of people that are posting some really great content that's informative, that you're learning from it, that people are engaging with, and add a comment that adds to that conversation. It's kind of like you're at the event and there's a bunch of people gathered around somebody, they're all talking, and you just kind of meander over there and you listen in and you got something to say, when you say it. It's not about you, it's about the conversation. And that's a great way to start to build your credibility, because what happens is your profile is connected to what you do on LinkedIn.
Yes.
People may look at your profile, say, who was that person, that Phyllis person there? She's saying some good stuff. Um, that's a way to dip the toe in. And then when you feel comfortable enough to put out your own, and that was always, to me, it was like a lot of angst. It's like, oh, what do I say? I don't know. People are going to think of whatever. I keep a list of questions clients ask, prospects, questions that are out there. And that makes great content. People
Yes.
are always asking me, my favorite thing is download your database. Well, how do I do that? I created a video. People ask the question of, I don't know what to post on LinkedIn. Maybe it's, hey, I got a great stack of books on my table here, some really great content from people that I admire. Let me share that. I listened to a podcast the other day, and here's what I learned from it. Here's one of my colleagues who I want to celebrate that she just got certified. Let me share that, and pay it forward. So there's so much that you can do, but to put stuff out there because you feel like I got to check that box, got to post something today. You know what? It's just noise and it's annoying.
I
And
love this, and I think I want to stop right here and make like a bookmark because I want everyone to see that you can set up a doc anywhere and just start putting those questions and those things that you get from your clients or out and about on that doc. And then when you go to create content, you have something to guide you right there instead of just willy-nilly posting things all the time and not knowing if they're noise or important. So having that particular thing. Now this actually kind of ties into your book because I really want to talk about your book a little bit here
okay.
because The book Elevate, Expand, Engage: A Refreshingly Different Approach to Winning on LinkedIn came out in 2021 in the middle of all the fun stuff, right? And there
Just about a
this
year ago,
too,
actually, November 21st, 2021. Oh my gosh, a year ago. Yes, I can't believe the
yes.
year has passed us.
Yes, and it was a long time coming in a way because you had been building on it for a while. And you noticed that there was, and I just want to kind of set the scene for people here because of this particular conversation today, because this is about strategies for building relationships on LinkedIn. And you have an architecture set up that I think is wonderful for people to follow. And in a way, it's first Elevate, which is all about you and your brand, right? And then
Mhm.
it's expand, which is making and building those connections, and then engage, and that's where you're full on like making your opinions and knowledge and experience in plain view. And
Yep.
a lot of people get that backwards, and they just jump into LinkedIn and start with this engage bit where, and then they have to go back and fix their profile and fix their connections and all of that. So can you talk about how there's sort of this step, it's not step by step, but it is, but it's more like process by process to have those amazing relationships on LinkedIn. So can you kind of like talk about that
Well,
architecture?
yeah, and I'll tell you, if you can visualize like a Venn diagram, right? Or, or,
Hmm.
or I call it the three-legged stool. The thing that you put your bun on, that is the strategy. That is the
Yes.
seat. Okay, you gotta
Yes.
have, if there's no seat, what are you sitting on? So you gotta start with a strategy. And I think that's where a lot of people, they just go into LinkedIn not really understanding the sort of rules of the room. And and that's where it doesn't work, or it's too much work. I mean, I hear that a lot. And it's because they don't have a strategy. And the strategy can be, I want to advance my career, because that's really the roots of LinkedIn. It's a career platform, a job search platform. Maybe like I want to find leads for my business. Okay, that's reasonable. And maybe I want to get seated on some boards of some corporations, so I want to present my best self forward. So there's a lot of different reasons for LinkedIn. So the first and foremost thing you need to do is, why am I on LinkedIn? What do I want to get out of it? Because that's going to determine your network. And your network, what was the term? Your network is your net worth. Um, Everything you do on LinkedIn is impacted by that network. So let's, go back to that virtual event. If you invite a bunch of random people that are, don't speak your language, from a place that you never gone, and they're all in there, there's nothing relevant going on. So you want to be very selective about the network. And that's where, you're doing the first part is elevating who you are. This is my personal brand, my professional executive image, and this is how I want to be perceived. So it's not your resume. Most people just slap their resume on LinkedIn, and it's like, well, your resume is what you've done in the past. Good for you. But LinkedIn is how you aspire, how you want to be perceived. It's aspirational, right? Because you can say what you want. And that's what LinkedIn is. It's how you want to be perceived. So the next part, and that's the one part, the leg is your brand. The next part is what I call the network. And that's where you expand. And again, if you have in the beginning, it's really flattering to get these invitations, and then you realize, oh my gosh, that's a fake profile. It's not even a real person, or it's, there's no relevance there, because it's going to affect what's in your feed. Okay, whoever you're connected to, that's the stuff that shows up in your feed. So that part of the leg is really fine-tuning and curating your network. Just like you would, like a collection of anything. You're going to handpick the things that you like, and you can do that with your network. You can be selective. And then the third part of that again, these all work together, because if you don't have one and everything's lopsided, is the engagement. And I think that's where the magic happens. It's like you and I, we met online, then we met in person, and now here we are, years later. I could say, friend for life. And it's because we have built trust. We have, been good citizens. We've referred things to one another, so on and so forth. And that's where the magic happens. I would say 95% of my business in the 5 years I've been in business has been referrals.
Yes,
You know,
and this is a very important point too. So just like we had a gateway question to what to post on LinkedIn. You also have a series of questions you ask yourself before you connect with somebody. And like most of us in the beginning, it was like, yes, yes, yes. And then also I'm in a local environment. And so if anyone local connected with me, I said yes. But then after a while, I realized, no, I need to fine tune this, using your word, in terms of who I am connected to. Does it enhance my ability to have meaningful conversation to be connected to this person? Does it include people in my industry that I look up to or that I want to have conversations with? I mean, there are lots of questions you can set for yourself, whatever it is. And I need to make this point too, because this is a community for social media managers and also for agency owners. So there are agencies and social media managers who are on LinkedIn to promote their own business. And
Right.
then also, both of those groups are helping their clients in that space. But all of this information is true no matter what side of that equation you're on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
important like that.
it is interesting. And here's the thing, and I'm going to throw out some statistics based on experience on LinkedIn that when you post something, approximately 10% of your network will show up in their feed. And then what happens to that post in whatever the algorithm of the month is, that will impact how far out it goes. It's who
Yes.
engages with it. People don't remember what you post. So I have seen it happen when I have a post that does really, really well in terms of high engagement, high visibility. I can post that again. Different people are going to see it. Different people are going to engage with it. It's like when you throw a ball out there and, if you're bowling, you always hit the ball down the alley the same way. No, if you're like me, it's like ricocheting off everything. So, you can put a post out there. You can do the same post in a different format.
Yes.
So again, it really, I like to test things and play with it on LinkedIn. But it's a fun platform. Again, if you're in the B2B space, having a
Yes.
strategy, most people don't take the time to do the strategy, and then they get disappointed or frustrated.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So
I think that's really good advice for all social platforms, but especially on LinkedIn, because it is so connected to your business and your reputation and how you are viewed in the world. And it's super true with all the algorithm things. And actually, that 10% view rate is actually kind of high for some social platforms, Facebook, that doesn't get that much reach these days, which brings up this whole thing of personal profiles that are
mhm,
in creator mode or not, and pages. So
yeah.
can we kind of like dive into that? And as a social media manager, how would I make a decision of where to place my time and attention?
Yeah, first and foremost, if you're starting out on LinkedIn and you have less than 2,500 connections, I would not recommend going into creator mode yet. Okay,
Mhm.
because the default in creator mode is follow. And whenever somebody invites you to connect, by default, they are automatically following you regardless.
Mhm.
So that's why I am less likely to accept a connection if they don't meet the criteria that I'm looking for. I'll say, you know what, I appreciate you reaching out. I'm at my limit, 35,000, whatever the heck the limit is. Um, Follow me. Let's engage. And we'll take it from there. So what I would say is, I'm sorry. Go back to that question again because I want to make sure I don't go off on some crazy tangent.
No,
Let's
your
do that.
tangents are awesome. So I'm totally okay with tangents. But the point being is, how would a social media manager decide if they should stay just working with their profile or to build a company page for their business and the work that they do for clients? Like, do they do
Okay.
both? Like that whole question.
Okay. Well, yeah. And here's the thing: if you have your own business or you're working with a small entity, there's no reason why you shouldn't have a company page. LinkedIn is one of the top Moz ranking sites for credibility. So whenever something is on LinkedIn, you Google your name right now, chances are your LinkedIn profile is going to show above your website. Okay.
Yes.
So having a company page gives you more SEO juice. And it also makes you real. So how many times do you engage with somebody and they've got this little gray avatar? It's like, well, what the heck company is that? Oh, is it even real? So it validates you. And I think a company page is really important because a company page can brag about you. So my company page can say all the great things about its CEO, who's me. Now, if I say it about me, it's like, oh gosh, she's bragging again.
Yes.
Not going to do it. But my company page can brag about me. Our CEO just got published, da 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 da. Whoa, you know. Anyway, so what I would
Good
do is
point.
on your profile, there's a couple of things that are imperative. Number one is take a look at the top of the fold. Back in the day, you know, when they used to have newspapers on the newsstand, right? The top of the fold was that headline that got you to grab the paper, right? So your headline is at least the first 40 to 60 characters is what goes everywhere. It's on mobile, it's in when you post something, it's in anything that you do on LinkedIn, it kind of follows you. So what you want to do is you want to make it real clear what you do. Don't waste it on the default of your job title in your company. Look at other people's head, they call it a headline. Look at it and see, you know, does it explain who my network is? Does it explain what I do? What's different about me? So you've got, I think it's 200 characters to work with, first 40 to 60 most important. The
Yes.
other thing is your photo. You don't want to have it where you cut out of something or you got an animal in there or some other bizarre thing. It can't be a logo. It should be you smiling. You say, but I don't have a professional photo. Guess what? Phyllis, if I snapshot you right here, that would make a great profile photo.
Yeah,
Go into
probably
Canva.
better than what I have up right now, honestly.
Yeah, go into Canva, remove the background. You're beautiful. So no reason why you shouldn't have a great photo. The other thing is this banner behind you. Imagine if someone gave you a billboard on the highway that, you know, hundreds of thousands of people passed every day and you had nothing on it. That's a blank banner. You know,
Yeah.
use that banner, rotate it, use it for messaging, use it to clarify what you do. And then there's something that says contact info. Make sure your website is there. Make sure your email is there. I use a Google Voice phone number for privacy. I don't have my cell, although it's gotten out
Yes.
in the public.
Yes.
I use a Google Voice, you know, to screen calls. So make sure that that top of the fold is really, really built out. Then the next part is the middle, okay, that middle section. The about section, as I said before, and I just posted an article about this, it's not about you. It's not your CV. Nobody cares about you. People they don't. It's like
I know,
if
I know.
you
I just love the you know the emphasis on that because this is like the most important thing ever, especially in terms of business, is all about the customer and what the customer needs or the customer wants or you know the audience needs and what you can provide for them. It's all about service. You are in service to your audience, and so I just love that every time you say that, it's like I want to like shoot off the fireworks. Yes.
well, I would say, and here's the thing, so there's been polls done on this on LinkedIn. Very few people are going to look at your about section, but if they do, give them something of value. Demonstrate what is in it for them by reading your profile and your about section. I just published in my monthly newsletter, it's the most underutilized section. And I give examples of what you can do. I gave resources. So go ahead and look at that. But your about section is really about the reader. So
Yes.
it shouldn't be I, me, my. It should be you, your, our. And
I
in
want to
give
make sure everybody knows who's listening. We're going to post a link to that article in the comments in a little bit, maybe right after we finish the interview. Judi has a ton of articles and posts and things, and I just want to hook you up with all of that. And also to remind everyone that Inside Social Media Pulse this month is all about LinkedIn. Like,
all
seriously,
about
it is LinkedIn soup. We have all the things in there. And so this is sort of like, you know, starting it off with this wonderful interview. And we're going to get into these strategies, more detailed in the strategies. But as we said in the very beginning, you know, that profile needs to be set, that foundation needs to be set. And I just want to tell the funny story about the pronunciation of your name section
yes,
in there. Because
yes.
a lot of people still to this day don't realize that can be utilized. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, like your name, you know, and how you use it. That's a really good explanation. I think that these are like these little gems that are on LinkedIn that, you know, make sure you do the basics, but then add to this because if people, I just had a client yesterday I spoke with, and his name is definitely a challenge. He said, you know, here's what you can do with that. You have 10 seconds. You know, it's kind of like a quick, what do you want people to know elevator pitch? Also, you can add a cover story if you're comfortable with video.
Yes.
So I just updated mine because now I have shorter hair. But it's just maybe something that people don't know about you, or maybe something that you want to share. You know, I put my tip of the month is download your database. You
Yes.
know, so yeah, I think that all those little nuances, that's where you start to really embrace the profile. But at the bare bones, so many people don't have the header image. They don't have an informative headline. Their picture sucks. You know,
Well, everyone can just go and look at Judy's profile as sort of something to model. Look at how she has things set up and how she has things organized, and then go and just do the work. I'm a big believer in finding a good model if you're lost at what to do. So go definitely check out her thing there. I'm going to put up a couple of comments we've had since this uh, talk started, and I just want to say a few things here. Ruth is here, and Ruth says that business event at a venue, Facebook is a background barbecue. Such a clear analogy. So thank you. Yes, I think that really makes a lot of sense. And there are lots of people from all over the world. I just want to say hi to Sean. Sean, nice to see you in here. And Forrest is in here, and I guess
Forrest,
Forrest knows you because there's this wonderful post in here, and Forrest says that Judi has taught me quite a lot about visibility and credibility building through her great book. Yes, and we'll definitely have your book hooked up into the
we
comments
met
and
on
everything.
LinkedIn. We've never met on person, but Forrest is engaged on the platform. Check him out. He's awesome.
That's
So
great.
yeah,
And so
that's
that's absolutely wonderful. And Oscar is in here watching us from LinkedIn, and he says, I definitely have to work on
Ooh,
commenting more on posts. And this is one of those habits, and just in my experience, I can read something and I can immediately have an opinion or an idea pop into my head. And then I have to like filter it a little bit, like, is this helpful? Will this, will this, add to the conversation? Yeah. Is it more service focused, or it's like all about me? Or, there are a few questions I have to ask myself. And literally 60% of those impulses, I decide not to comment. But that makes the ones that where I do comment feel very good to me. Like I feel good about even though I'm not commenting on everything, even though I could, I have definitely made it a habit to comment on those things which I think are really important to showcase. So that's one of the things you have to
let
get
me add
to.
something to that.
Yes.
You have to be, and you hit it right there. One thing I do is I use the save feature a lot. It's those three dots because there's something I want to add some insight. I like the conversation, but I'm just not in the place where I could do it right now. Use the save feature. But the second thing is when you comment, a notification goes out to your entire network in their notifications that so and so just commented on this post. And if you say
Yes.
something that is whatever, everybody sees it. So it's like going out in the town square and running out naked. Be aware that you are exposing yourself. So, and like I said,
Yes.
people learn from comments. So use it to educate and inform and add to the
Mhm.
conversation. And the third thing is don't waste the effort on likes and reactions. Unless I know somebody, I'll do something aside from the thumbs up, because that is what I call a passive response. It adds no value whatsoever, no
Yes.
value. You know,
Yes.
and so if you're going to add value, add to the conversation itself.
So, can you go back to the three dots and explain that process that you use? Because a lot of people, the three dots are super valuable in so many places, but a lot of people don't understand what's available. And I just actually pulled up LinkedIn so I could look
Yeah, I'm looking
at
at it right now. Yeah,
look
okay.
at it so that I could show people what we're doing. There's actually this wonderful thing you can save for later. And is that the thing that
I
you
love
do?
that. That's under my
Yes.
items. Yes, I do that all the time. Because again, either somebody says something that I find really valuable, I want to come back to that, or I want to add something to it. And I
Right.
save polls, by the way. I have a collection. I'm going to be publishing like a compendium of all these polls that relate to LinkedIn,
Hmm.
probably in between the end of the year when I have some downtime. But the three dots, and by the way, on my logo, you'll notice I've got the three dots there. It's because the three dots are always, there's something wonderful under we call them the shish kebabs. That's the kebabs,
Yes.
shish
Right.
kebabs. But the three dots, there's a couple of things, by the way. When you're looking at your home newsfeed, you can sort it by top, which is what the algorithm thinks is important to you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, take it for what it's worth, or you can hit the caret there and you can sort by recent. Okay.
Yes.
And depending upon if you're on mobile, I will look at LinkedIn on different devices throughout the day. And that's why the save feature is important, because there might be something I see, I want to add something, shiny object. I get distracted and then I don't know, what was that post? Where did it go? I don't even remember who posted it. The three dots are where you can fine tune your feed. You can unfollow somebody if they're really annoying and posting too much stuff, you can unfollow them. Don't disconnect from them, just unfollow them. You
Yes.
can copy a link to the post if you want to share it. You can save it for later, or you can say, I don't want to see this. Maybe it's, of a topic that you're not interested in. Use the three dots to fine tune that feed.
How I just found somebody I'm going to unfollow just doing this right now. So because I'm not particularly interested in seeing recipes in my feed. But
Oh,
but where do you find all of those save for later posts once you've saved them?
when you're on your home page, if you
Yes.
look at and you're clicking home, on the left rail, let's call it a left rail, where it says your
Okay.
name and then it says who's viewed your profile and my items. If you click on my items, then you're going to see where it has your jobs,
Ah,
your learning, your projects, and your saved posts.
look
And
at
what I
that.
think,
I learned something new here. How is this awesome? And I actually have something in there, which that's hysterical. So
yeah,
thank
one
you.
thing I'm going to tell you, if you want to copy a post and send it to somebody, LinkedIn started doing some more in-depth analytics, and they have UTM tracking. So you don't want to mess up what's going on with their tracking. So what I do is anything from the question mark after that, I
Yes.
delete. So it's just the post.
Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, it screws up the tracking.
Yes,
Um,
actually, that's one of those little tricks that us old time geekers really like to do on everything. So I have some more things in the chat I want to bring up
okay.
before we go on with the interview questions. And this is a question from Deb Mitchell in the community. Didn't realize that follow comes from being in creator mode. Is this bad? What does this mean?
No, no,
And
no. It just means that there's a default. And to be honest with you, people connect. I get a lot of these, people that want to connect that there's no message, there's nothing. It means they've seen me in a different mode, whether it's people you want to follow or whatever. Follow just means you follow them, and it means that you will potentially see what they're doing in your feed. Now, there's a little notification bell on a profile. So if you really want to follow somebody and just keep tabs on them, you hit the notification bell. But if you're trying to build your network, you want the default to be to connect, because most people don't realize when you're looking at a profile. So let me bring up a profile. You look at the profile, let me just, so I know what I'm talking about here, because again, LinkedIn is just a okay.
and
So
it can change from day to day. So
it does. When you're looking at somebody's profile, their full profile, if you don't see the connect button there or the follow button, you got to click on more. And on mobile, which is so annoying, the default is just no. It's a generic connection request. You have to hit personalized message, which I think should be the default. And
okay.
again, what I do is if somebody, I just have no more patience for generic invites. So what I'll do is just to try to be a good citizen is I will respond back and say, thanks so much. I'm glad you found my profile. How can I be of help to you? Now, if people are using automation, which a lot of times they are, you never hear from them again because they're using
Yes.
automation, or they'll go
Yes.
right into selling you something.
Right.
So that's why it's much better when you're trying to connect with somebody. If you don't have over 2,500 connections, which is a good amount of connections, don't go to creator mode yet. Okay. Now, if you want to publish a newsletter, you have to be in creator mode to do that.
Yes.
I'm also tracking that. I'm going to be publishing that later this week. It's probably about 40 some odd percent of people have launched newsletters and have never followed through on them. So
Yes.
don't start something unless you have a strategy and a plan to execute it.
And I do
So
want to make mention that Social Media Pulse does have a LinkedIn newsletter, and so make sure you go to this, and we'll put all of that inside
it's
the
a great
comments
one.
too.
It
Yes,
really
thank
is
you.
great.
It's a really really good one. So I have another one that I want to clarify again because this is a really important question straight out of the box, and this is from Oscar. If I'm just building my personal profile and don't have a company, I don't think I need a company page, right?
Well, I think first of all, if people are going to spend money with you, and you have to have an active employer, otherwise you're unemployed, and you don't have a company page, you have the gray avatar, it's kind of like, oh, is this person even real? What
Mhm.
is their company? It takes less than 5 minutes to create a company page. You can use Canva to create your little icon. I've worked with some career changers, and when they were in between, to keep integrity and authenticity, they didn't want to say they were with their previous employer. So we would create a company page with some kind of icon and say that they are a consultant or something like that. I just think it validates. There's no reason why not. It's free, and you're going to get more visibility on SEO because LinkedIn has high authority, and you look less crazy. The
Yes.
thing about like
Yes.
Twitter, okay, you can have like all these like aliases and personas. You don't know who the heck the person is. But LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is now moving. They just announced, just when I had my article, I was able to get it in right before we published it, that there's going to be some new verification features coming on LinkedIn. So they're really going to crack down on these fake profiles.
Yay.
So when you are on LinkedIn, you're dealing with a real person. That is a human, and it's going to be a verified human. So I think having a company page, why not?
Okay,
You know,
great. That's a great
who wants a
question.
company page? I'm going to actually repost a tutorial, but reach out to me. I'll show you how to do it. It takes 5 minutes.
That's
Easy.
awesome. So now I want to go into the sort of the engage part of the equation, and this is where really a lot of times the most important things are created or produced or presented in here. So I want to talk about the um, the thing that really moves the needle. Like, for example, it used to be back in the day, certain types of posts really made an impact on LinkedIn, and now different things make an impact on LinkedIn. So I think you have actually in our notes several super cool ways that move the needle on this idea, and these are specific things that you can do in terms of content. Can you talk a little bit about that, paying it forward and all that in that section?
Yeah, and I think the engage part is, I think people at the core of their nature want to help other people. I really do. You know, And so, what better way to help you than to maybe make an introduction? Hey, Phyllis, you just mentioned you're doing this thing with your clothing line. I know somebody that is going to open up this outlet of retail. Let me get the two of you talking.
Do you?
I
Because I kind of like need that.
hey, you know, it's number one is how can I help you?
Yes.
Be a giver on this platform. There's a lot of takers on this platform, and those people I unfollow and I have nothing to do with. I like the givers because I think people want to help one another, provide helpful resources, share content that is not shocking, clickbait, but more thought provoking that gets people like curious. Say, oh, I didn't know that. Tell me more about that. Ask them a question. Put out a client asked me this question, and so to answer it, I did this. People love those kinds of stories. Pay it forward. Brenda Meller, I think, was one of the first people. She's another LinkedIn strategist and trainer. She talked about the term co-opetition. What is co-opetition? Because there's a lot of people that are very protective. I'm not going to connect with you because you're going to steal my network. It's not your
Yes.
network. Okay. It's a public profile. You want to connect with me, connect. But helping one another is amazing. And she publishes a list. And I just got a note from her that she's going to publish her list of LinkedIn rock stars in November. It's going to be some Saturday in November. So stay tuned on that. But
Yes.
it lists all the LinkedIn people and what their growth has been over the year. There's another person that I see. So what they're doing is they're celebrating other people that do the same work. So again, it's like not it's more of an abundance as opposed to a lacking. So that's
That's
another way
nice.
to expand and engage your network, because people will want to generally refer to you if you're a helpful person. If
Yes.
you're always talking about yourself, it's like blah blah blah. You ever go to an event and somebody's like bragging about all this stuff, and it's like, how do I get out of here? Get me
Yeah,
out of this.
sometimes you have to toot your own horn, and there's a way to do that. One strategy is to obviously post it on your company page first and then share it back to your audience. And add something very personal about the experience. So, for example, when you got first connected to Forbes and started doing work with Forbes, I remember seeing posts from you about that, and I wanted to celebrate that so much. So sometimes you do have to post something that other people can celebrate your experience with that. Can you talk a little bit about how that Forbes thing came about? Because I think that would be informative for people.
Yeah, as a and this is for other social media managers. I was looking at a way to invest back in my business, and I looked at the different, Fastco and Inc. and a couple others. They have these councils, and I thought, which one makes the most sense? And I always for and because we're here in New York City, I was thinking, oh, it'd be great. We could, gather in person. It'll be fun. And so I applied for the council, the business council, and they vetted me, and I got accepted. You do have to pay, just like everything else. You got to pay quite a bit. But it has proved to be a really, really valuable network. I've made really good connections. I've gotten some business from it. I've been able to publish. You can publish once a month. So far this year, I've published 4 times, and it's just been, and this will be my 3rd or 4th year in it. It's an investment in my business. And so I would say only apply if you are committed to publish and participate. I am going to be talking with them about a new initiative, and I'll announce it probably in a couple of weeks once we solidify everything, but it'll be about LinkedIn, and it'll be a Forbes initiative. So yeah, I think that you have to invest in your business. But one thing I want to add to what you said earlier is, in terms of bragging about yourself, one way that you can build credibility is through your recommendation section. And what I make a strategy habit is, when I have worked with a client, when I have received a acknowledgement about something, somebody likes something, I will ask them, would you mind, could we put this in my LinkedIn recommendation section?
Yes.
Sometimes I'll copy and paste what they said, and they'll be like, sure, no problem. Now, I will tell you a story. I wanted to apply to be a speaker at Inbound. And, it was about LinkedIn, but this was a couple of years before, people still weren't in love with LinkedIn back then. And I didn't really know anybody there. And so I reached out to somebody that I had met at a HubSpot user group. HubSpot runs the Inbound conference. And happened to be employee number 9, Dan Tyre. And I reached out to Dan because I knew him from Austin. And I said, hey, Dan, we haven't worked together, but you see me on the platform. You see how I show up. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind writing a couple of words about your observation. And he said, absolutely. And he put a really wonderful testimonial just like that on my profile. And then I used that as I applied to Inbound. So I didn't get accepted, but that's okay. I got a recommendation from Dan.
Yes,
So,
that's awesome.
which also leads to another point is, I lived in Austin, Texas for a long time. And so my network there was very much connected because I worked for the Chamber of Commerce in Austin. And so I had a lot of businesses that were Austin based. So when I moved to New York, did I disconnect from those people? No. Guess what? Several of them, unbeknownst to my surprise, have moved to New York City.
Yes.
So, or Brooklyn, or whatever. So I have found that, when you connect with people, you can unfollow, but don't disconnect with people.
Yes.
Unless there is a really good reason, just keep the connection, because everything that you do, you are tied to your first, second, third degree. So, I may not want to connect with you anymore, Phyllis, right? But you're connected to Andrea.
Yes.
And I want to stay connected to Andrea. But then if I disconnect to you, then she might not be connected to me. So anyway.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting, those connections. And for those people who are not knowledgeable about connections inside of LinkedIn, we're all used to this by now, but that whole first, second, third level thing in the beginning was like, well, this is weird. But I understand how it's a way to help moderate the whole idea of connections and relationships and strategies on LinkedIn. Can you just, for the newbies in the audience, and just explain that? Because sometimes when people go on LinkedIn, they're like, what do you mean first connection, second connection?
Yeah, the first connection is, we are directly connected. You and I are in the same network. I have visibility to some aspects of your profile. We are a direct connection. The secondary connection is somebody you may know that you're connected to. that's maybe in the Pulse Academy.
Mhm.
You're connected to them. I'm not connected to them yet. That is my second degree connection.
Mhm.
Now, they might be connected to somebody that is outside both of our worlds. That is a third degree connection.
Mhm.
You can also have what we call proximity through groups. Now, the value of that is that, and this is another statistic, and I know this from working with clients, the average acceptance rate, that's my dog wanting his lunch. Is it lunchtime yet? The average acceptance rate is 30%. I use that as a benchmark with all my clients. Some people, and that means out of every 100 invites you send, 30 will accept.
Mhm.
It's not because they don't like you. They may not be logging into their account. They're just not in love with LinkedIn like you are, you know?
Right.
Um, but some industries, like in the financial industry, like CPAs, I have found, and it's getting better, 19%.
Mm.
In the legal industry, professional services, I have found it could be upwards of 40 or 50%.
Wow.
The more you personalize that invite to that person, the higher the chance of acceptance. You
Right.
know, so, and what I've done is, like, if I'm attending an event, I will make sure I connect with every single speaker.
Yes.
And I will tell them I'm looking forward to hearing them. Or if I've just listened to a webinar or something, I will reach out to the speaker and say, I loved your talk, and here's what I got out of it. Would be great to connect.
Yes,
And
actually, on that point, that if you're going to an event like this and you want to connect with every speaker, even the easiest way, I don't know, maybe you have a different way of doing it, but this is the way I would do it, is I'd go get their name and do a search on LinkedIn for their name. And then I would notice either I'm connected to them already, which sometimes happens, or I'm a second connection with these people in common. And so I will look at who I have in common, and if those common people, the people in common,
connections and
the, that if they are in the industry that I'm in and I feel like it's a really good match, then I will reach out. But if I see that level that we're sharing the connection with all these strange people that really don't have anything to do with the industry, then sometimes I have to like stop a moment and think about if that's a good connection or not.
yeah,
But that's the value of seeing that second and third levels, is you can see what connections you already have with somebody that will inform your very personal reply or very personal invitation to them on reasons why it'd be great to connect with them,
yeah.
or just to follow them.
I think I published something a while back about the different types of experiences on LinkedIn. And one is like, you go to an event and you got someone dealing out their business cards like a blackjack dealer. It's like, oh my gosh, stop it.
Right.
And then you got someone that is like super personal, and they're
Yes.
saying things. It's like, wow, that's weird. And then you got someone that's like just right, that you think this would be a great person. I think I can offer something here. I would love to introduce you to some people in my network, and you want to embrace them. And so, as you're reaching out to people, one thing I will tell everybody here, it is very tempting to use automation tools. There's a lot of them out there. That's a fast pathway to get your account suspended.
Yeah.
And it's happened. I have had people pleading to me, please, how do I get reinstated? How do I get reinstated? Not my clients, but people that have taken this shortcut because they want to build a network and so they're going to, file out all this stuff. Don't do it. You cannot automate on LinkedIn. You can use social media posting tools. That's not automation. But when you're
Yes.
using a tool that is sending out invitations or doing this, what we call pitch slapping,
Is that what it's called?
boom. It's like, well, here's the thing too. And I think we mentioned it somewhere along here. When I want to build credibility, if I want to send you a link to an article I wrote, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, are you interested in seeing this? I wrote this article on XYZ. I thought you might find it insightful. Would you like to see it?
Yes.
Instead
Get
of, I
permission.
get these
Yes.
things all the time with these like long paragraphs and links and Calendlies and set up a meeting, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's like, too much too soon. I
Yes.
had somebody wanted to hop on a call, and and it wasn't even in my target audience, and it was through an in-mail, so it wasn't even a first degree connection. And I said, that's fine. I said, but my time is valuable, and here's what I charge for those calls,
Good for
and
you.
here's how you schedule it.
Good for you. I think that's awesome. Everybody write that one down. So that
Oh, to pick
you
my
are the
brain, pick my brain, have at it.
that's boss mode. Absolutely. So we're getting close to the end of our interview time. I just want to remind everyone this would be the time to put in your last questions to ask Judi about anything that has to do with LinkedIn and building relationships and strategies and all of that. I just want to remind everyone of a few things. One, we have a lot. This whole month is all about LinkedIn. So there's a LinkedIn mission control post inside the Social Media Pulse community where we list everything that's happening in terms of LinkedIn and the training and the articles and the conversation and all of that. It's a nice little index post for all of those things. We'll make sure all the things we talked about today are in the comments or in those posts for LinkedIn. And if you are interested in learning more about LinkedIn, inside of Social Media Pulse community, we have the Academy. And inside the Academy, we have a whole section on LinkedIn training that goes from 101 all the way over to a sort of 101 on advertising in LinkedIn. So whatever you're interested in there, you can go and dig in a little deeper and then ask your questions inside the community
And that is,
anytime.
well, like I said, Phyllis, the school, which was the earlier iteration of the academy,
Mm-hmm.
it was my foundation. And so, I would say to anybody, that wants to take social media seriously as a business, the Pulse Academy is really, and I know the labor that you put into the lessons there, Phyllis. It's
Thank
really
you.
good. It's really worthwhile. So,
Thank you so much. All right, so get your questions in there, and I'm going to ask Judi a couple of last questions here. Do you have any final thoughts for agency owners now? So they're actively looking for clients, right? And so they would be pitching LinkedIn or actions that they would be doing on LinkedIn to their potential clients. So, do you have any final thoughts for those agency owners?
yeah, I would say that if they are working with clients that are selling, let's say, a high trust, high touch service, and that they think those businesses are on LinkedIn. And again, remember, people do business with people, okay? Like Simon
Mm-hmm.
Sinek says that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would think building a presence on LinkedIn not only is going to add value because of the visibility of LinkedIn and the credibility, but it really is a good way for employee advocacy. So it could be the employees of the company. The clients that I'm working with do have teams of employees, and so it's really helping them become more comfortable on the platform, and that will attract them to their ideal clients. So I think it definitely should be in the toolbox of social
Mm-hmm.
media. But again, like certain clients might find if they're doing B2C that Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, are going to be better platforms. You just have to know who you're trying to reach. And if it is another business, it's going
Yes.
to be LinkedIn.
That's great. I just want to I want you to, like, after this is over, come back to this mark at about an hour, no, 52 minutes into the program and re-listen to that, because if your audience is really not on LinkedIn, then yes, you can have a presence there, but if you're tracking ROI or conversions or anything from a social platform, you're going to find if you're a B2C or human to human or whatever, that you might find your higher ROIs on other platforms. But if it's business to business, then you have no better place than LinkedIn to
I'll
really
give
go.
you an example. There's somebody that was asking me about LinkedIn, and she provides services for like elder care. And she says, I'm working with the sandwich generation, the person that's caring for a child and caring for an elder.
Mm-hmm.
And will I find them on LinkedIn? And I said, well, most likely they're going to be, let's say, in some kind of corporate position. So if you look at, seniority, years of experience, that you may be able to find them that way, and you may be able to provide resources, instead of, do not go to LinkedIn to try to sell people. Don't waste your time, because nobody wants to be sold. People love to buy, but nobody wants to be sold. And so I would say that people that are going on LinkedIn just to do that, you're not going to have success.
Yes.
It's like throwing spaghetti out there. What sticks? And you're going to get, it's like cold calling. Cold calling
Yes.
never works. It never brings valuable leads. You want to build relationships. And the goal on LinkedIn should be to take the relationship offline, like a conversation like this, like a meeting in person, like, some sort of real life experience, because that's where the magic happens.
I'm positive Ruth is going to grab that one and use it in because that was beautiful. And thank you so much for all of that, Judi. There are some more questions in the chat, and I'm going to bring them up in just a minute. But I
Okay.
just want to before we get into that, thank you so much for this, Judi. It really, obviously, you are a master in this field, and I really appreciate your expertise and appreciate all the time and effort you've put into
Oh,
LinkedIn
thank
through
you.
the years.
Thank
And
you.
the book is wonderful, and I hope that it provides a lot of leverage for you, and you're building your expertise and your notoriety online because you
Thank
deserve
you.
it.
Thank
So I have one more question. Vicky just tuned in, and yes, it's being recorded. You'll be able to see it right here, wherever you are. As soon as it's done, the recording will be there for you. We use StreamYard, and we love our StreamYard tool for things like this. And please tell me it's being recorded. Yes, I do have a question. I caught your comments about asking someone before sending them an article you wrote. Can you send messages on LinkedIn without having an upgraded version? So she's talking
Yes.
about, so you explain that, what she means by upgraded version and
Yeah,
sending
there's
messages.
premium, there's free versions. You can do a lot on LinkedIn with a free version. There's something called InMail. And when you have a premium account or Sales Navigator, which is what I have, you get InMail credits. I will tell you this: LinkedIn has just done something with their inbox, like Outlook, where it's focused and other. And so when you're trying to send a message, you have to click on the more on somebody's profile to see if you're eligible to send a message. That has to do with your proximity, second degree, third degree. Um, you can pay for in-mail messages, but I have rarely received in-mail messages that weren't trying to sell me something. So I would say that the best thing you can do if you really want to connect with somebody, comment on their content if they are engaged, or send them a compelling reason why you want to connect. And then at that point, if you have something you want to share with them, ask them if they're interested in it. Because if you just, like throw up all this stuff to people, it's a turnoff and they're going to ghost you, and
Yes.
they may even disconnect from you. So, yeah, I would, it has to be a value. People don't have time. Like in my book, I said, what is it? 7 seconds now is the attention span of people. Like when I'm doing content for online, I make it so I break up paragraphs, I make it mobile friendly. People just scan. Nobody has time to read stuff. They don't. They really don't. Use
So,
audio message. Use the video message on your mobile. It's fabulous. But no,
yes.
people don't have time. They just don't. Don't
Yes.
kid yourself.
So it's interesting. So in case you're looking at a process here, Vicky says go to their profile, click the three dots, see how you're connected to them, and maybe you connect that way and put in a personal reason why to connect in the invitation. But otherwise, you can also, if they have a creator account, you can follow them and then go to their posts and start making comments on their posts and understanding all the things that the value that they bring into the world, and add your own. And then from there, you can kind of broach that, I have something special I'd like to send to you. Is that okay? So ask permission. That's a wonderful process, and I really
It
appreciate
takes
that.
time. Most people are looking to cut to the chase, and it
Yes.
just, there is no shortcut to building real relationships. There really isn't. So another,
Yeah, I know. I like that. That's great. So we've been on Twitter long enough to make those tweetable. So
yes,
it was so nice to catch up with you today, Judi,
thank
and
you.
we need to do this more often. And thank you very much for adding to our LinkedIn mission this month at Social Media Pulse Community and
I will
Inside the
pop in
Academy.
there to if anyone else has questions. And if you want to connect with me, just make sure you personalize it in your invitation. And I'll be
Yes.
happy to connect with anyone that mentions that.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you very much. And
Be well, my
so
friend.
I really appreciate it. And again, all the links and stuff we'll be putting into the comments and everything. And I
Yes.
really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you very, very, very much.
Bye.